So the first chapter is about making a connection and becoming more in alignment with something higher inside, that voice that we can hear that's going to give us direction and help us. And it's going to give instruction, because in our struggle we sincerely do cry out for help, and at a point at which that voice inside makes the connection, that crying out, the voice of Krishna is finally able to come in. So the first chapter is all of the dejection. It's called the dejection of Arjuna, and all of the problems and thoughts and feelings that he has about his unconscious existence are laid out in verse. And it's a long basic. The first chapter is a basic complaint, after the end of which, rather than face the struggles of his life and deal with the consequences of what he perceives to be the results of action, in this case in fighting on the battlefield of life, he winds up throwing down his bow and arrow and says, "I will not fight." It's very decisive, and it's at the bottom point of his soul life. In addition, the first stages of the calling, the recognition that there is something inside, that there is something more to life, are taken alone, and one doesn't have yet the benefit of an inner voice or an inner connection. What one has is doubt and recognition that things that one took to be meaning in life really don't have meaning, and that there isn't a happiness in the things that duty and responsibility that many of the actions of life had given up to a point, and now they're seen as missing something, that there isn't a real depth in most of life's experiences. Although very exciting in certain moments, they're transitory and they fade, and that this uncomfortableness, this need for something more inside, something that will stay with one, that has a permanence, and that can withstand all of the various kinds of ups and downs in life, all the things that affect one on a daily basis, that there is something that has an inner stability and an inner meaning. One hasn't quite got to that. There's just a sense. It's in the Gita, it's Krishna's presence next to Arjuna, voiceless but present. That one knows these things, but one doesn't know how one knows them. And again, it's all in this dark night place, where one's facing the end of many of the known parts of life that have played roles, and not yet able to grasp what it is that's going to fill it and what make it give it meaning. That pretty much gives the explanation of the first chapter. I would like to add the characters that Arjuna is our developing soul, and Krishna is the divine that's able to connect to that soul. Now in the story, there is a blind king that runs the kingdom, and of course that's all of the various forces of unconscious desires and likes and dislikes and wants and needs, and also the kingdom of our thoughts, all of the mental activities. This is characterized by a blind king who has no control over his children, which are also the passions and the desires, of which he has spawned 100. And they have taken the power of the kingdom. Now the king himself is getting old. He's not interested in dealing with this situation. He's trying to make peace as he can with Arjuna and Arjuna's family, the higher being parts, and is trying to make some reconciliation, but the lower parts, or the desires, are not willing to give up anything of the kingdom. And the king is not able to participate in the battle, and he has a charioteer, and the charioteer is able to see what's going on in the battle and overhear what Krishna is saying to Arjuna, and he reports to the king. That's the higher mind, as it is, able to pick up on the searching soul inside and the higher level soul that's speaking. So we have this chain coming from Krishna to Arjuna, to the king's charioteer, and to the king, to the blind king. And so the mental center in the ordinary daily existence is able to actually receive the information through this chain. That's the way that it's described in the Mahabharata prior to the battle of the Gita, staged in the Gita. The second chapter is going to start with a questioning from Arjuna to Krishna. What's it all for? What's it all worth if I have to give up, and if there's going to be such a loss and a disconnection from ordinary life, and giving up desires and pleasures and even the ordinary things of life? What is the point of it all? This path just seems to be worse as I know more. I'm not seeing what is the real value in it, and that's going to be the second chapter, the beginning of the second chapter.